Alright, first video recap for the first lesson. So one thing I want to point out, last night I was just using the auto chord naming thing in Guitar Pro. So this guy over here, instead of having it be called a C-add, what was it, C-add 11 / F no 5, just call it a C with an F in the bass with no 5. I think it's a little bit easier way, so it was just bugging me looking at that thing with that long pointless name. That was too much stuff. So kind of curious if you understand the theory about that, because now you've gone through quite a bit. I think you said you got up to 7th chords with the jazz instructor. So yeah, let me know if you understood what the theory was behind a chord called a C-add 11 / F no 5. And again, theory with just calling it this way, the C / F no 5. So with this guy, and basically all three, we have the same rhythm. And what I want you to do is work it up, all three of them, from 60 to 140. And this is each day that you practice. So ideally, you want to go up by 5 beat per minute increments. So you play the exercise correctly one time, you bump it up by 5. And then you play it correctly one time, bump it up another 5. So what you don't want to do is play it like 5 times in a row and then go up by 5 or whatever, because that's just going to take. It's going to take too long for one thing, and it's also not really necessary, especially because you're going to have several days throughout the week where you're doing the same thing again and again. And this is how you build speed, is you play the exercise, whatever it is, just one time, and then you bump it up by 5. That's how you really push the speed efficiently. Now, there's other things to talk about later on, but that's basically the idea. That's how I go about pushing my speed. Play something once, bump it up by 5, and I just keep going up like that. That's the simplified way of it anyway. When plateaus happen and whatnot, then you can implement other approaches and with the metronome. But anyway, so the other thing I want you to do, so you're going to be tapping your foot along with the metronome, and your pick and hand is going to be synced up with your foot that is synced up with the metronome. So every time you have a down beat, your foot goes down, your hand goes down. Every time it's an up beat, your foot goes up, your hand comes up. And remember, you don't want to anticipate the beat. You want to think about playing just a hair late. So if you play a hair early, it definitely sounds rushed and it sounds more out of time than if you played a hair late. So if you're just a hair late, you just actually sound more into pocket, more in rhythm and all that. So the metronome, your drummer, whatever it is you're following, that's the key word there, following. So the metronome is setting the pace, or your drums are setting the pace, and we need to follow that. So if we try to anticipate that, we might get ahead of it. So we got the click happening, and then the foot joins in. So, and this might seem kind of backwards. The goal is not to make the foot follow the hands. The goal is to make the hands follow the foot. So the foot is tapping along with the click. And a lot of times you'll see me nodding my head, or if it's like a really weird rhythm thing, I'll be like moving my whole body along with it to really get into it. So I'm following, the metronome with my foot, nodding my head, and that's my leader. So, I guess number 2 leader. So metronome's leader number 1, foot's number 2, then the hands come in. And I want you to keep counting out loud the part of the rhythm that you're going to play. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So basically, just, do what I do, and you're good. So if you need to simplify this sort of thing, couple things. One thing is you can just memorize what the chord progression is. So instead of trying to play all the strumming stuff along with it, just get used to changing your fingering. So, couple pointers, some anchor finger positions. So you already have the A5 to the A suspended second there, no problem. So when I'm going from the A suspended second to the C chord, my ring finger stays in place, and it's almost like I'm just kind of inverting or kind of switching the strings here, but then my pinky comes in. So I'm going from here to here, and then the C to the G inversion. So the ring finger just drops down, and then we do the bar with the index finger, and then, oh God, that was poorly done. Then we just slide the hand down for the next chord. So if we're going from this F inversion to the C chord, I mean, you do have a shared note. You have the C here, but you just gotta have, like I said last night, a good aim. You just gotta, there's no anchor finger, you just gotta move your hand. But going from this C chord to the C with the F in the bass, ring finger stays put on that C. And then fairly easy switch to that, and then back up in there. So when you're doing this, I know right now you have the habit of playing the power chords like that. But when I'm switching up here, I'm going to do it slow, see if you can see what happens. So I already have my fingers on the fretboard that I want to use for the A5 chord, all on the same strings too. These two fingers, the first and third finger, they're in the correct distance. This is the only one that's not. This one's going to kind of get scrunched in, so when I'm sliding up, it goes that to that. And you can always practice like switching chords, just going back and forth between those two to get the anchor position, get that comfortable for any of these chords that are maybe new for you. And then the other way you can simplify this is just play the first chord of each bar, so this way you can concentrate more on the strumming. Another thing to do is just have the metronome go, tap your foot, and just say what the count is. So that's always a helpful thing anytime putting the chords to the strumming pattern is challenging, and if it's a new rhythm. So especially when we get into 16th notes, very helpful to just have the metronome go and tap your foot and just say what the count is. So yeah, and say it out loud. Definitely say it out loud. Don't whisper it like 1 and 2. You want to be like 1 and 2 and 3 and so on, because it really helps reinforce what you're doing. So I think that covers all like the foundational stuff there of why we're doing it and what to do to simplify. So enough jabbering for me. So to simplify the demonstration stuff, I'm going to play these at 60, 90, and 120. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Boom. Yeah, definitely remember the repeats. For the end here, not necessary to hold that out for the full 4 count. I just put it as a whole note to fill out the bar, because hey, you got to mathematically fill these things out, right? What I just remembered one thing when I was playing that. So time-wise, if it seems like going up by 5 beat per minute increments is taking too long for your practice session, maybe you start off by going 10 beat per minute increments. But when things start to get challenging, slow it back down to 5 beat per minute increments, okay? All right, here we go at 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, done. And 120, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, boom. So, as you get faster in these tempos here, it becomes more challenging to say it as you play it. So if it gets too challenging to do, like the 120 there, it's not a big deal if you stop counting at that point. So it is important to be able to do it at least at the 60 beats a minute. You know, when it's going slow and you're able to have more time to think about what's happening. But yeah, as you're going faster and faster, there's no way you'd be able to count it out loud. Because, you know, if I was doing that at 240, I can't count it that fast. I don't think I can. I'm not even gonna try it. But you know, it's like when you're playing the really fast shred stuff. You know, like that you're working up to, doing stuff like that. I can't count that. That's too fast. But it's important to be able to do it in the slow speeds. Okay. So yeah, as you get faster, if it gets to be too much of a pain in the butt, it's okay to stop counting it. But at least, very, very least, do it at 60. Got to be able to do it at 60. Okay, so for the single note stuff, sometimes I count it out loud, sometimes I don't. Probably a good idea. Definitely a good idea. Again, at least do it at 60. Because like the more complicated it gets and you're trying to think about too many things at once, well, then it becomes problematic. So with the single note stuff, you know, you're basically taking, you know, the chord strumming and translating the counting stuff with that into the single note things. Because now you're going to be moving your left hand a lot more with the single note deal versus the chords. So now you have way more stuff to go on there. So it's kind of like, the way I'm thinking of it is you have the chords, you ingrain the counting while you strum, get that in your subconscious. And then when you transfer over to the single note stuff where you're probably not going to be counting anything, your brain understands it better. So that's why the chords, it's much easier to just keep your hand on one chord or a couple chords versus what's up on the screen right now where you're constantly changing notes every single time you strum. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, you got any questions at any time, definitely let me know. Okay, so here we go at 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Remember, just because we're doing single notes, you don't want to stop the down, up, down, up, down, up continuation. Keep the downstroke on the downbeat and the upstroke on the upbeat. So, I think because one thing I saw yesterday when you were going through this, I think it was in this bar, you did a downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, and then you waited and did another upstroke. Well, you did a downstroke here, and instead of moving your hand up for the next downstroke, you waited and did an upstroke here. So when you get faster and faster and faster, it's very, very important you can keep that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up as you go. So again, I know I'm repeating myself. I'm only doing it just because I feel it's very important. I try and make it all as clear as possible, yeah. But yeah, downstroke on the downbeats, upstroke on the upbeats. So if you have 2 downbeats in a row where you're not doing any upstroke stuff or any upbeat stuff, so it's got to be downbeat there, or downstroke there, downstroke there. Okay. Now it's 90 beats a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I don't hit the pinch arm because I want to. It's like I have a habit of throwing those things in there, but sometimes some of these notes on the low E string are just hit and miss. Anyway, here we go. 120, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to get that pinch on the C note there. Sounds better over here. Oh well. I need new strings. Alright, number 3. So the biggest thing here is making sure that you wait for when hammer-ons need to happen. Like going from, because these 2 beats or 2 beats, these 2 parts here, so go from the downbeat of 3 over here, you want to make sure that you wait until the downbeat of 4 to throw your finger down on 10. And the same thing here, you got that, holding that 7 out for a whole quarter note, holding it out for the quarter note, and then waiting until you have the downbeat of 2 to throw your finger down for the 9 there. So it's a common thing for people to try and rush these hammer-ons. So that's why I wanted to really emphasize, you got to make sure you wait for the right part of the beat to put down your fingers. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. So with this, because it's so legato heavy, it's not important anymore if you're doing a downstroke on the downbeat or an upstroke on the upbeat. So this is one of those exceptions to the rule. So you may have noticed I just did a downstroke here and then another here, even though that's on the upbeat. Again, because it's so legato heavy and you're just making those hammer-ons happen, it's not as important to keep the down, up, down, up, down, up thing going. So if you find yourself doing, just all downstrokes, that's fine for this one. So hope that makes sense. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Of course, if you do end up throwing in upstrokes on an upbeat, that's fine as well. All right, 90 beats a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 120. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So yeah, it's important for legato stuff, single note stuff, still tap your foot the whole time. Keep that foot going. Keep it going. Keep it going. I know that the faster you get, the harder it is sometimes to keep your foot going and like playing complicated stuff. I know that I need to keep improving that for myself, like playing like 200 beat per minute plus 16th note stuff. I know if I keep my foot going that past that tempo, I will play better. So, you know, that's one of my things to work on, is keeping the foot going. Not necessarily tapping at the 200, but like maybe like halftime tapping. So that's something we'll get into. But I thought I had something else to add here. Oh, well, we got like a 20-minute recap. So this one's a bit longer than it may normally be, but that's just because I wanted to go over like the fundamental stuff, all these important little basics that will help build a solid foundation and make everything better as you go. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know, and I will see you again Friday.